My dear brothers and sisters, let me ask you something very honestly. Have you ever cried to Allah in the middle of the night and said, Ya Allah, why did you allow this to happen to me? Why did you allow the people I trusted to hurt me? Why did you stay silent when I needed you the most? You see, many people think Allah protects you by removing pain. But sometimes Allah protects you by allowing pain that saves you from something far worse. What if I told you that the heartbreak you are still thinking about, the rejection that shook your confidence, and the betrayal that broke your heart were not signs of Allah's anger, but signs of His protection? My dear brothers and sisters, some doors were not closed to punish you, they were closed to save you. Some people were removed not because you were weak, but because Allah knew keeping them would destroy you slowly. If today you are confused, hurt, or questioning Allah's wisdom, stay with me, because by the end of this reminder, you will understand why Allah allowed them to hurt you and how He was protecting you the entire time. 1. Allah sometimes removes people to protect your heart and your faith. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the hardest realities to accept in life is that not everyone who enters your story is meant to remain until the end. Some people come as lessons, not as lifelong companions. They may smile with you, pray beside you, speak kindly to you, and even promise loyalty. Yet their presence slowly weakens your heart, your peace, or your connection with Allah. Because you are human, you judge by what you see in the present. You see affection, shared memories, emotional comfort, and familiarity. But Allah sees what that relationship will become tomorrow, next year, and in the akhirah. Allah sees how that person may slowly normalize sin in your life, drain your emotional strength, or make you rely on them more than you rely on Him. When Allah allows someone to hurt you and leave, it is rarely random. It is often because that person had crossed a line that you were not strong enough to draw yourself. You tolerated things you should not have tolerated. You ignored red flags because of attachment. You made excuses because you feared loneliness more than damage. So Allah, in His mercy, stepped in. What feels like rejection is often Allah saying, this is not good for you, even if you cannot see it yet. You thought they were a blessing because they made you feel good for a moment, but Allah knew they were becoming a distraction from your growth and your purpose. You saw companionship and emotional closeness, but Allah saw dependency forming, where your happiness, confidence, or self-worth began to revolve around a human being instead of Him. You saw comfort, routine, and familiarity, but Allah saw a slow poison, something that would weaken you gradually, not all at once, until you lost yourself without realizing it. Allah reminds us in the Quran that He knows and we do not know. This is not a small statement, it is a deep truth about life. We make decisions based on emotion, fear, and attachment, while Allah makes decisions based on knowledge, wisdom, and mercy. When Allah removes someone gently, we often run after them. So sometimes Allah removes them painfully, because pain succeeds where softness fails. If they had left quietly, you might have chased them. If they had stayed kind, you might have stayed blind. The pain was not meant to punish you, humiliate you, or break your spirit. It was meant to protect your heart, guard your imaan, and redirect your life towards something cleaner, healthier, and closer to Allah. So when you look back at a relationship that ended with hurt, do not only ask, why did Allah allow this pain? Ask instead, what was Allah saving me from? Many times, the answer will reveal itself with time, growth, and healing. 2. What hurt you also exposed the truth you were ignoring. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes the pain you experienced was not the problem itself, it was the message. Before the hurt happened, Allah was already showing you signs, but your heart was not ready to accept them. You noticed small behaviors that made you uncomfortable. You felt unease in your chest. You sensed something was off, but you told yourself to be patient, to be kind, to give another chance. You silenced your intuition because you cared too much, because you hoped people would change, or because you did not want to face the truth. Allah, in His wisdom, knows that human beings often ignore warnings when they come softly. We explain away disrespect, we justify dishonesty, we tolerate emotional harm because we fear losing people more than we fear losing ourselves. So Allah allows a moment that cannot be ignored, a betrayal that speaks clearly, a rejection that removes all doubt, a painful action that finally reveals the reality you kept covering with excuses. My dear brothers and sisters, that pain was not meant to break you, it was meant to uncover the truth. The hurt exposed intentions, it revealed priorities, it showed you where you stood in their life and where Allah was being pushed aside in yours. Sometimes Allah removes the mask from people not through words but through actions that shock your heart awake. What you once suspected quietly becomes undeniable. What you once questioned gently becomes obvious. If Allah had allowed things to continue comfortably, you might have stayed trapped in confusion for years. You might have kept investing your time, emotions, and energy into someone who was slowly draining you. So Allah allowed the truth to surface in a way that left no room for denial. Yes, it hurt deeply, but clarity often comes with pain. And clarity is a mercy. Remember this, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah does not expose people to embarrass you. He exposes them to protect you. He allows the truth to reach you in a form you cannot ignore, so you can finally make a decision that your heart was too afraid to make on its own. The pain opened your eyes, and once your eyes are open, Allah gives you the strength to walk away with dignity, wisdom, and faith. 3. Allah protects you by breaking your attachment, not your worth. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most misunderstood moments in life is when Allah allows something dear to your heart to be taken away. In that moment, many people mistakenly believe that they were rejected because they were not good enough, not lovable enough, or not worthy enough. Shaitan whispers, if you were better, they would have stayed. But understand this clearly and deeply. Allah never removes people from your life to humiliate you or lower your worth. Allah removes people to free your heart from attachments that were slowly enslaving you. There is a very fine line between love and dependence. Love can exist with balance, with dignity, and with Allah at the center. But dependence is when your peace begins to rely on a human being, when your happiness rises and falls with their attention, when your confidence depends on their presence, and when your heart feels lost without them. That is not love anymore. That is attachment. And attachment, when it grows unchecked, becomes dangerous for your soul. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah is Al-Ghani, the one who needs no one, and He teaches His servants to depend on Him alone. When Allah sees that your heart is becoming too attached to a creation instead of the Creator, He intervenes. Not because He is harsh, but because He is protective. Not because He wants to hurt you, but because He wants to save you. Allah does not want your heart to be owned by anything other than Him. Sometimes you do not realize how attached you have become until that attachment is broken. You may say, I trust Allah, but your fear of losing that person exposes how tightly your heart was holding on. You may pray, but your dua is filled more with fear of people leaving than trust in Allah staying. Allah sees this imbalance even when you deny it to yourself. And because Allah loves you, He refuses to let your heart remain chained. When Allah allows someone to hurt you and walk away, He is not saying that you were unworthy of love. He is saying that your heart was too valuable to be owned by the wrong hands. He is saying that your peace was too precious to be placed at the mercy of human inconsistency. He is saying that your imaan mattered more than your emotional comfort. Look closely, my dear brothers and sisters. The pain you felt was not because your value decreased. It was because your attachment was strong. The more attached you are, the more it hurts when it is removed. And Allah knows that if He does not break that attachment now, it will control you later. It will weaken your judgment. It will blur your values. It will pull you away from Allah slowly, quietly, and without you noticing. Allah breaks attachment so that your heart can return to its natural place of rest. A heart that relies on Allah is steady. A heart that depends on people is constantly anxious. People change, feelings change, circumstances change. But Allah never changes. When Allah removes someone, He is redirecting your dependence back to the only source that will never abandon you. Many of you discovered Allah more deeply after loss than you ever did during comfort. Your sujood became longer, your dua became more honest, your tears became sincere. That is not a coincidence. That is the result of attachment being broken and reliance being restored. Allah did not take something away to leave you empty. He took it away to fill that space with Himself. So my dear brothers and sisters, do not question your worth because someone left. Do not measure your value by who stayed or who walked away. Your worth was written by Allah before anyone knew your name. What Allah removed was not proof of your weakness. It was proof of His protection. He was saving your heart from being consumed by something that was never meant to own it. When you understand this, the pain begins to change. It no longer feels like rejection. It begins to feel like release. And when attachment breaks, clarity enters. You begin to stand taller, breathe easier, and trust Allah more deeply than before. That is not loss, that is freedom. 4. The pain redirected you away from a path that would have destroyed you. My dear brothers and sisters, many times in life we believe that what we want must be good for us simply because we desire it strongly. We pray for it, we chase it, we plan our future around it, and we become emotionally invested in the outcome. When things finally collapse and fall apart, the pain feels unbearable because it shatters not only what we had, but what we imagined. Yet Allah, in His infinite wisdom, often uses pain as a redirection, a forceful turn away from a path that would have quietly destroyed you. Allah sees the full road while you only see the next step. You see opportunity, excitement, and hope. Allah sees where that road leads, the compromises you would make, the values you would slowly abandon, and the spiritual distance that would grow without you noticing. Some paths look beautiful at the beginning but end in regret, exhaustion, and emptiness. Because Allah loves you, He does not always allow you to walk all the way to the end of such roads. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes Allah tries to stop you gently. He sends discomfort, He places obstacles, He creates unease in your heart. But when you ignore the signs, when you insist, when you say, I know what is best for me, Allah may allow a painful interruption, a door slams shut, a relationship collapses, a job ends suddenly, a plan you built your hopes on disappears overnight. In that moment, it feels like everything is falling apart, but in reality, Allah is pulling you away from something that would have harmed you far more deeply later. Think about how many people stay in situations that slowly drain their dignity and faith because nothing dramatic happens to force them to leave. They remain stuck for years, slowly losing themselves. Allah, in His mercy, does not let that be your story. He allows a moment of sharp pain so that you do not endure a lifetime of quiet destruction. What feels like loss is often rescue. Allah closes doors loudly when whispering is not enough. If the door had closed softly, you might have reopened it. If the road had remained smooth, you would have continued walking without question. So Allah makes the ending undeniable. He removes the illusion so clearly that you are left with no choice but to turn back. This is not cruelty. This is protection wrapped in firmness. My dear brothers and sisters, one day you will look back and realize that had things worked out the way you wanted, you would not be where you are today. You would not have the clarity you now have. You would not have the strength you now carry. You would not have the closeness to Allah that was born from your hardship. Allah redirected you not because He wanted to delay your happiness, but because He wanted to preserve your soul. Understand this deeply. Allah never blocks something without replacing it with something better, even if that better arrives in a form you did not expect. Sometimes the replacement is peace. Sometimes it is wisdom. Sometimes it is protection from a future pain you never had to experience. And sometimes it is a new path that aligns more closely with who Allah created you to be. So if you are standing today at the ruins of a plan that collapsed, do not despair. Do not assume Allah abandoned you. He was guiding you away from a danger you could not see. The pain was the turn, the heartbreak was the redirection, and what lies ahead by Allah's permission will be safer, cleaner, and closer to Him than the path you were so desperate to stay on. 5. Allah allowed the pain so you would return to Him fully. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most painful truths we must face is that human beings often drift away from Allah, not through rebellion, but through comfort. When life is smooth, when people surround us with love, when plans are working, and when our hearts feel settled, we slowly begin to rely on what we can see instead of the one who controls everything. Our dua becomes shorter, our tears become rare, our dependence shifts quietly from Allah to people, routines, and worldly security. We still believe in Allah, but He is no longer at the center of our hearts. Allah, in His mercy, does not allow His servant to remain lost in the subtle distance forever. When Allah sees that your heart is drifting, He sometimes allows pain to interrupt your comfort, not because He enjoys seeing you hurt, but because He loves you too much to let your heart wander without guidance. The pain becomes a wake-up call, a moment that shakes you enough to remember where true safety lies. My dear brothers and sisters, look honestly at your own experience. When you were surrounded by people, how often did you turn to Allah first? When your heart was attached to someone, how deep was your reliance on dua? But when that person left, when that support disappeared, when that source of comfort was taken away, suddenly Allah became your refuge again. Suddenly sujood felt heavy with tears. Suddenly your dua came from a broken but sincere heart. That return to Allah was not accidental. It was the purpose hidden inside the pain. Allah sometimes removes the creation so that you run back to the Creator. He allows emptiness so that He can fill it with His presence. He allows loneliness so that you discover that you were never truly alone. When the world turns its back on you, Allah opens His door wider. And when you stand there with nothing but your need and your sincerity, Allah draws closer to you than ever before. My dear brothers and sisters, do not underestimate the value of a broken heart that turns toward Allah. A heart that returns to Allah in pain is often purer than a heart that remembers Him only in ease. Through hardship, Allah teaches you humility. Through loss, He teaches you dependence. Through tears, He cleanses your heart from pride, false security, and misplaced trust. Many people say, why did Allah take this from me? But few ask, what did Allah give me through this pain? Allah gave you awareness. Allah gave you sincerity. Allah gave you a relationship with Him that may never have been born without hardship. Some of the strongest believers you know were shaped not by comfort, but by loss that led them back to Allah. Understand this clearly. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah did not break your heart to punish you. He allowed it to break so that it would finally bend toward Him. And when a heart bends toward Allah, it is never left empty. Allah replaces what was taken with something far greater nearness to Him, peace that does not depend on people, and trust that cannot be shaken by the world. So if today you are hurting and turning to Allah more than ever before, do not think this pain means Allah is far from you. It may be the clearest sign that He is drawing you closer than He ever has before. 6. What broke you also built a stronger and wiser you. My dear brothers and sisters, when pain first enters your life, it feels like destruction. It feels as though something inside you has collapsed, as if you will never return to the person you once were. And in truth, you will not return to that person because Allah does not intend for you to go backward. He intends for you to grow. What broke you was not sent to erase you. It was sent to rebuild you in a stronger, wiser, and more grounded form. Before the pain, you may have trusted too easily, tolerated too much, and ignored your own limits. You may have sacrificed your peace for the sake of keeping people comfortable. You may have remained silent where you should have spoken and stayed where you should have walked away. Allah saw this vulnerability, and in His wisdom, He allowed an experience that would change you, not by hardening your heart, but by strengthening it. My dear brothers and sisters, hardship has a way of teaching lessons that comfort never can. Pain forces reflection. It slows you down. It makes you question your choices, your attachments, and your priorities. Through this process, Allah sharpens your awareness. You begin to notice patterns you once ignored. You recognize red flags earlier. You become more selective with your time, your energy, and your trust. This is not bitterness, this is wisdom. What once made you desperate for approval now teaches you self-respect. What once made you fear loneliness now teaches you independence. What once made you cling now teaches you reliance on Allah. These changes do not come without discomfort, but they are signs of growth. Allah transforms pain into insight and loss into strength, often quietly and over time. Look at how you respond now compared to before. You may speak less, but your words carry more weight. You may trust fewer people, but you trust Allah more deeply. You may feel less attached to outcomes, yet more anchored in faith. These are not coincidences. They are the results of lessons earned through hardship. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah does not waste pain. Every tear you shed was counted. Every night you lay awake questioning was recorded. Every moment you chose patience over despair raised your rank. Even when you felt weak, Allah used that breaking point to